Hello everyone, and welcome to part 2 of painting a forest and mountains. This acrylic painting study focuses on creating texture with something that's like trees repeated, or when you're trying to paint something like grass or something that goes off in the distance that's repeated and there's that kind of texture going on. So in the first video, we worked on the background because it's always wise to work from the background to the foreground with these paintings so that when we paint the foreground, we can go over the background and not have to try to squeak it in later. So what we're doing today now, you can watch the other video that I posted for the mountains in the background, and we're going to get ready to do the foreground. So hopefully you have your visual reference from the previous video still handy. Looking at the forest, looking at the trees, we're going to look for the base color, the one that's in the background, that's in the shadows at the roots of the trees. And that's quite a dark, rich green, very, very dark. And we're going to, and that's the same color that's used on the trees that are far off in the distance. So let's start by mixing that really dark natural green on our palettes. So once again, we have our primary colors and black and white on our things. Okay, waking up. So yes, we have yellow and blue, of course, make green, but this green is far too saturated, far too bright. We do have a long distance to go. Essentially, we're going to cover this whole triangle up with this dark green for our first layer. So when you're mixing this green, make quite a bit. There we go. Now, to desaturate and settle down these excited colors that are a little too bright, we need to add its opposite color from the color wheel. So less is more. You can always add, but it's really hard to take away. So I'm just teasing the red in just a little as we move in. I don't want any white in here. Let's throw a little bit more black. I do want it darker on the value scale, so we're going to put in that black, and that is definitely having a nice effect. We're getting closer to our goal. So always test your colors before popping them on your painting. I got my little color swatch thing going on over here. I'm going to keep with the pattern of this, of the trees. And I'm going to paint in a vertical manner. And I'm going right up because that's what I see in the visual reference. That is a nice shade of green. Be careful of your tape. You want to paint off of it, not onto it. You understand? Like, put your brush on the tape and kind of come across, and then that should seal it. And you should, fingers crossed, not slip under it. I'm using a bigger brush for this purpose because I have a lot of territory to cover. And this is just the first layer. Don't stress about how it looks right now. We're just getting the base down so that what we put on top of it has a base layer of green and everything is happy, happy, joy, joy. Hello. Now there are trees that cut into the background. Just getting this base layer down. We're going to get to those in a second. Let your line be jagged and uneven. There we go. Woohoo! Now let's take that darker green, even a little darker. And I'm mixing right on what I've got, so it'll always have that tint, that shadow of the green. And I'm going to take my square head brush and kind of right coming down in a vertical manner. Got a lot of paint on this. I want to, there we go, brush upwards, kids. That looks better. Let your brush strokes be visible. Cut over those mountains. We're trying to make it look like those distant trees. Let the mountains peek through between the trees. Take your smaller brush and you can add hints of the branches. So you got the main chunk of the tree done. And I'm just doing like the letter V turned on its head, turned upside down. I'm going to do more of these. I personally, I feel like the green that I put down is showing the white of the page too much, and it's bright in the color. I don't know what your green looks like, but if it's too emerald and not dark enough, let's really darken this, at least this band right here. Not a big fan of the emerald green at this distance. So I'm just adding, my brush strokes are still that same vertical. Get in there. There we go, that feels better. And then I see a couple other really dark spots, like right in the foreground. Do you see this? This one right here. I just dab some dark in there, and then I see another line of it above there. So we're putting these dark shadows in, and they will help us out later. So do you look for those really, really dark spots? There we go. I want to cover up all the emerald because it wasn't wrong. There was just too much of it. So I'm going to clean my brush off. And we're going to go not for the brightest of the bright greens. That'll be our very last layer. When we're applying like a yellow almost to the page, then we know we're just about done. So we're going for, I want to see the minty shades. So this area here is more yellow light, and then this band down the middle is a bit cooler. There's bits of the yellow, but not nearly as much. So I'm going to find this cooler green because it's next on my furthest closest thing away from me as we're moving closer to the viewer. Okay, that's enough talk. So I'm going to add a little bit more yellow, and I'm still mixing in the same spot. So I added the dark here, which is representing this shadow. And I plan to cover it, and then I added another band of dark there. It's right there. Yeah. And then I saw this really, really dark spot in the visual reference, so I put that there. Okay? And I'm taking a color swatch so that I can see the comparison of how dark this is my darkest green, and I want to see the next level of highlights. And it's still very emerald. I got to cool this down. I think I'm going to add a little touch of white. See what kind of an effect. Did that get rid of the emeraldness? Almost. Am I being brave enough? There has to be a distinct difference between these greens in order for these trees to stand out. But then you don't want them to stand out too much. So it's a very dangerous game we're playing. Okay, I'm mildly happy with what I got here. So same thing we did before is we're going to be using our square head brush. Getting the trunks in, figuring out where we want our trees. Whatever you do, don't make it too cookie cutter. Can we flick while we paint? While it's wet. Ooh, yeah, there we go. Put down a trunk, flick it out with the other brush while it's still wet. Just smear it a little. more trees you do, the better you'll get. Ooh. This one goes right up. You can even go, since you've got everything on the same palette, I'm going to go and just kind of make a happy medium between that really dark one. Maybe I'll put a few here. Use the minty green that I've mixed and the old green that I used for the background. Mix the two together and find some medium level of it for this band between them. Gradation of color and all that jazz, right? And as long as we stay using the same puddle, the same base, where they're all kind of using the same base color, base tone, it should work out, fingers crossed, right? Can even poke. I see that in some of this band, so we're just focusing on the middle ground of this mountain. Some of them have some sunshine hitting the treetops. So just throw some yellow. Can you see? Yep. Well, viewers at home can see. I'm still mixing in that yellow, in that minty. I'm adding yellow to the minty green. Testing it out. It's not vibrant enough. I'm like all working in the same puddle. And then I'm with my little brush, just gonna put some dappley sunshine on there. Just like we did with the ice on the mountaintop yesterday. Just little dapples here and there. It's all on the one side of the trees. Notice that. That's where the sun's hitting them. Some trees are quite lit, others are not. Just making little forests of happy little trees. Should have worn my Bob Ross t-shirt today. area has lots of happy trees right beside the dark patch. So putting the high value beside the dark value makes each of them, the dark and the light, be more stronger. This is part of the painting where you can poke away at it forever. But we have to look at the time. It's 9:10. A little bit more poking, and then we're going to shift into a bit more foreground. Hopefully I haven't left you all behind. Is anyone freaking out? Okay, good. They wouldn't tell me anyways. They're so good. Again, the nice thing about doing this on YouTube is that you guys can watch this on your own. I hope it helps you. That is the point. See, when I come back to my first strokes, I never like them as much as I like my last ones. Blur those guys up a bit more. You're welcome to come take a peek at my real life book because the lighting's terrible. I don't know how to solve this. If you're watching this YouTube video and you know how to make my in the classroom screen brightly lit while not shedding my students in pitch dark, making their paintings super dark, don't come, listen, what did you just do? Did you compare your painting to mine? Look at the visual reference too. It's just a simple game of spot the difference. Spot the difference between what you see on the visual reference and your painting. Ask yourself, what's the difference between my painting and the thing? And give yourself a fair answer. Don't just be like everything. Okay? Turn that negative voice off in your head. They have no business here. We're just here having fun and learning. It may not be fun learning, but it's learning all the same. Okay, I'm going to move into the foreground because I don't want my paints to turn totally dry. I'm hopping into the yellow. I'm adding the brightness again because we're moving to the foreground, and the stuff on the foreground is a brighter green. And we have to do a better job on our branches because things that are closer to the viewer, we can see more detail. Colors are more saturated. I might find a medium version so I can always brighten it up. Check your colors. I'm using that small brush. So here we go. Take a deep breath. Hop in there. Nope, nope, there. It's pine trees. They're random. That's a good thing. You make your trees. You make them. You're the creator here. I'm going to put several layers of paint on these trees. That's one. Oh gosh. I want the tips of these trees to break a little bit into the roots of the previous group of trees. And I'm just like picking up paint from all parts of my palette. Deep breaths. I can hear you freaking out. Or am I just projecting? Could be a little bit of both. You're freaking out? Okay, good. I mean, sorry. You're not alone, let me assure you. Pardon?
Suffer together.
Suffer together. Let's do it, kids. I once put a Bob Ross video, instructional video. It was an eye-opening experience. Bob Ross is a robot. Yes. It was insanely fast. We were all sweating. It was so stressful. So hopefully create with Kiely pace is a little bit more, I don't know. Going on a roller coaster is stressful. You get the heart thumping, the adrenaline pumping, but it's still a pleasant stress. One that you wait in 2 hours to get on this stupid 2-minute ride. These go a little bit more. And I'm painting, not covering up, but over. I'm overlapping those dark areas that we put down. It'll look good. Fingers crossed. This is a study. Relax. We're just here to learn. Focus on trying to get the techniques. Don't give up. Don't stop. Don't give up. Every tree you paint, you get a little bit better. Poking at the other ones to repeat this green that I like. That'll create eye movement. let some of these trees, like just the tips of the trees, come up from the bottom. If you have all of their stems coming from the tape line, it feels unrealistic. You want them to be growing. You want to hint that there's more mountain below the edge of your canvas and off to the sides. So let it run off. Let it run off the top, let it run off the sides, let it run off the bottom. Don't contain the forest. Let it be wild and free. And let some of these ones I'm finding is nice to just, as you move down these trees that are in the foreground, and let them fade into that darker color. It works. No, not pure white. Then it looks like snow. Make sure that your highlights on your foreground trees definitely are not pure white. They have yellow in them. Okay. And where there is light, there must be dark. So I'm cleaning my brush, going back into the dark green, almost black, all in the same puddle. This puddle is my friend today. And I'm going to just bring back some of the shadows here, some breaks in the branches underneath where the light is. That really makes it feel more piney. Little blots. That really adds to the piney texture of it all. I'm not outlining it. Don't outline your trees. That'll flatten it. There should be 0 outlines in this. You can even use the dark, super dark green to dry brush over some roots and make it fade a little bit more into your darker areas. But it's really important to have those lights and darks to really send it home, that full range of value. And just pick away at it till the time runs out. Poke, poke, poke. Just keep adding branches. Light branches, dark branches. Oh. I did not give much attention to a certain area of my painting. I just realized way up here, it's only got 2 layers. Not enough. Whee. I'm mildly satisfied. No, it looks okay on the screen. All right then. Looks good enough for you guys. I'm going to call it for myself. You're welcome to keep going, my students. I'm going to do crossing fingers and peel this because I have no patience and I'm too excited. So will that be good or not? Will it be a perfect peel? No. Yes. Not that perfect. Oh, that was satisfying. One more. Nice. Oh my goodness. Were the painting muses smiling upon me today? I believe so. Oh, yeah. I'm going to sign this one. I hope you guys are feeling as satisfied with your painting of mountains and forests. Remember to like and subscribe and stay tuned for future videos. And remember, my friends, stay awesome and be creative. Until next time.